What's good, everybody? What's happening? Welcome to another episode of Unparalleled Sports Talk with your host, Kwame Fisher Jones. As always, I am him. And if I'm talking NFL, I'm joined by my man Chris Franklin of NJ.com. General assignment reporter covers the NFL. What's good, Chris?
Nothing much, man. Championship weekend. Can't.
Yes.
I love this way. One of my favorite weekends of the year. I can't wait.
I won't say it's one of my favorite weekends of the year. I used to get really big into the NBA draft. I used to love the NBA draft. But then they had so many bad GMs out there, it kind of lost its luster. But this is one of the more enjoyable weekends if you've been ahead of the curve like we have been in making our selections. Before we get to the championship weekends, bro, I gotta ask you, Pete Carroll, Brian Schottenheimer, um, Trent Baalke forced out, or Baalke, it's Baalke, right? Forced out of
Hockey.
Jacksonville.
Yeah, that's it.
Baalke forced out of
One
Jacksonville.
whatever it is.
Well, I want to start though in Jacksonville and then kind of work my way back. From what I've heard, and I don't know how true this is, so I'm relying on your information here. But from what I understand, no one wanted to go to Jacksonville because of the general manager. Now, he's a guy that's been around the NFL for years, if I'm not mistaken. He's got
Mhm.
quite the long resume. So for him to be kicked out by Shad, the Jacksonville Jaguars owner, what's their next move? What's their next step? Because of the three teams that we mentioned, and then we'll talk Aaron Glenn to the Jets, obviously. But Aaron Glenn, Pete Carroll, Brian Schottenheimer, and you can make the argument for Dak, but Jacksonville's got the best air quote quarterback available, but they don't can't seem to find a coach. Explain this whole thing to me, this whole
Well,
dynamic.
they have one. Yeah, Liam Cohen. Liam Cohen. That's their guy.
Oh, so
That
that's
is
who
their
they're gonna
guy.
hire?
That is their guy. Yeah. They gave him a 5-year deal. They gave him that as soon as they traded. As soon as they fought, he basically forced Balky out. He was the one
Really?
that went. He was the one that were like because
Okay.
that's why it was like at late at night. It's like, wait a minute, why is all this news coming out about Balky? Like, why are you waiting so long to get rid of this
Yeah.
guy? Bashad Khan was so enamored with him, and he said he wanted somebody who was creative, who was going to be
Mhm.
revolutionary, what have you. He thought he was a guy so much. The fact that he got rid of Balky, which is like you should have done this in the first place because I think you would have had a bigger pool of candidates to do that. So yeah, they went all in on him to the point you're like, you better be right. And to me, because me, it looks like an ineptitude in trying that. Shot Khan, I like Tony Khan. I met him a couple of times. His son, really good guy. Shot, really smart guy. Wouldn't have been in this position to be an owner if he'd not been it. But
Exactly.
when it's come to their football decisions in terms of that, I just don't get their way of going about things. Balky, it's to the point where you look at Balky's decisions, like he had the ear of Khan for so long. That's how he's been able to skate away. And that's how I think it when you look at I think he's really good at relating and conveying what's going on to owners. But I think the people in the football, like football operations and coaching staff, are like, "Yo, dude, what are you doing getting this guy? I don't want this one. Well, you're gonna get it. You'll like it, huh? Okay, whatever." So,
One of
but he's
those
everybody says he's
guys.
a nice guy, but he's everybody says he's a nice guy, but he's one of those. He gets the arrows like, well, this would have messed. This would have worked if they knew how to do this. Oh, really? Okay, yeah, swept the road. So yeah, Liam Cohen's the guy. I don't personally. I don't know if I think he's a good coach. I don't know if I would have given him Ben Johnson money, which he got. I
Mhm.
do that with somebody improving like that, but
The market
yeah,
is the market, though.
yeah,
Mhm.
it's crazy.
So yeah, I'm looking up now how old Dick Vermeil was when he got the job with the what do they call it? The Rams. And I look, Pete Carroll going to the Raiders on first at first glance seems like it seems kind of like what are we doing here? Like what are we doing here? But take a step back for a moment, if you will, with me. Here's a guy who, and Keyshawn Johnson kind of mentioned this as well. So he got to say it before me, so I'll give him credit for this. But this is what I was thinking. Well, he was a guy that was successful in New England, relatively successful, relatively successful with the Jets, kind of has an issue, whatever, falls on his face, winds up in USC and creates a dynasty. But regardless of free NIL, how they got there, nevertheless, he coached a dynasty. He goes to Seattle and they're playing in two Super Bowls. And this was for people who don't remember, I'm old enough to remember the Chris Warren, Steve Largent, Warren Moon. Cortez
Cortez
Kennedy
Kennedy.
Seahawks. So, for them to reach that level, there was no culture in Seattle. So for him to reach that level, it's like, okay, this guy's pretty good at what he's doing. He knows what he's doing. He knows football. So I'm not a guy that discriminates on any level. And I know it sounds kind of like whatever to say, but if you don't think a guy can do a job just because he's old, that's discrimination. And I don't subscribe to that theory in any form. That's just me. Now, I know there are a lot of people out there who say he's too old. Now, he's 73 years old, right? 73 years old. We've got a president that's older. We've got a lot of people that have a lot of CEOs that run companies that are older. And whether you like them, bottom line is age is not a reason why they're not good at their job, except for the leader of the House. He also tends to be the senator of Kentucky. But outside of Mitch McConnell, age is not a reason why they're not good at their job. So I actually am not on the Raiders' talent. Meaning, I don't know. Like, I know they had Gus Gardner Minshew, quarterback, Aiden O'Connell. I know that. I know they traded Devontae Adams. I know the surface level, but I'm not there every day in practice. I don't know how talented of a team they are. I don't know what his cupboard looks like, but I know he's proven that he's gotten the tools to he's got the skill set to get this thing turned around. Was it a bad hire? Age aside, do you think this was a bad hire?
I kind of want to answer the way the person you're trying to go. Well, when you look at the head coaches, the best way to do that is to make sure you get culture setters, and that's key. Because when you look at
Yeah,
when it comes to your best way, and you look at all the guys who are available at our level, and you're sitting there wondering who's the best culture setter, especially for a place that has not had success in a long time, like sustained success for a long time, that are in that tough AFC West. Who's going to give you best chance? And you look at it, Mike McCarthy. No, we see what happened down in Dallas. They can't sustain that. Yeah, it's bad. Do you think Kellen Moore can do it? No. Personally, and I'm thinking here, even covering him, I don't think he can do that as well too, like sustained success. You look at just what's Robert Saleh potentially, but you look at what happened with the Jets. I think it's more Woody Johnson being Woody Johnson, but he would have been a guy where maybe. But then you look at the Raiders; they're not a. To me, I know they had Antonio Pierce. I think they're looking more offensive now, and I think with Pete Carroll, he'll be that CEO guy. He'll be able to look around. Being this time, I think this time off really helped him. But I think he's gotten a chance to see what's going on in the college game a little bit. Because I think that's when you look at the latter years of his time, that offense got real stale, really stale. So I think he's got some guys earmarked. I wish I had some names there. But I know he's been talking to, so he's going to a couple of college games back there. He's not going to ever coach again. So what is he doing on the college level? Yeah, we know that. So I think he's going to bring somebody in that's really in tune with the trending and edge on that. And I look at that and I think it was the right hire. I mean, I'm shocked a little bit. I'm shocked he's still willing to coach. To be honest, I thought he was like done. Like, okay, relax, have fun. You did your thing. Yeah, it's for what was left out there, unless they were getting Marcus Williams, like say like Notre Dame or somebody like that, which I doubt they were,
no,
because
no.
Brady wouldn't have said no to that. Brady wouldn't have okayed that. At least he feels I think Mark Davis and Brady felt comfortable with Carroll, and you go from there.
It just makes to me it makes more sense for him to go to the Raiders. You mentioned Brady. I failed to mention him, but it just made more sense because you're now surrounded by winners on two levels now. Your owner's a winner. Well, one of your owners is a winner. The other one landed on third base. But you've got one of the greatest winners sports has ever seen, and he's going to be involved in some capacity. You've got a guy that's been not just successful, he's been a champion now on two levels. The development stage, which is college football, and now in the personality stage, which is professional football. But then you look at the guys that he's coached, and you look at his coordinators. Correct me if I'm wrong, and I might be I might have my guys mixed up here. But isn't the Commanders coach a former coordinator in Seattle under Pete Carroll?
Dan Quinn, yeah, yeah. Gus Bradley as well too.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah,
you're
he's got a
stealing my
tree.
thunder. So stop at that
Yeah,
light. You're stealing my thunder.
you didn't hear that. You didn't hear that.
You're stealing my thunder. My point is, he does a good job of assessing talent and hiring A's. And for those of you who don't know what that means, A's hire A's, meaning they hire people who are not, who they're not afraid that are going to go against them, ruffle their feathers, who are going to think outside the box. B's hire C's because they want guys who will just follow what they've already said. That's what you see happening in a lot of organizations. I mean, that's what you're seeing right now in Dallas. A B talent evaluator and coaches is hiring another C in Brian Schottenheimer. But I don't have a problem with the P. Carroll. Actually, look, you got Harbaugh in Los Angeles. You got Andy in Kansas City. You got Peyton in Denver. You got some. I'm taking Peyton now. Hold on. You got Harbaugh in Los Angeles. You got Andy in Kansas City, and now you've got Pete Carroll in Seattle. You've got some older guys going, or some guys who reside in the upper room, but nevertheless are probably the best of these last couple decades in coaching. The AFC West just became tough, and we're going to get into our picks. I, I actually don't. I think this could be the end of the Kansas City run. Yeah,
Ooh.
yeah. I actually think this could be the end of the Kansas City run. Now, before we get to there, just real quick, we got to stop in Dallas. I put out a video. What's it called? A short of me saying Jerry Jones was not going to hire a black man, and I got a lot of gruff for that. Whatevs. Yet we sit here and we're talking about Brian Schottenheimer, who was on nobody's list for coaches, who nobody was checking for coaches, who nobody was looking for coaches, and who, outside of having a legacy last name, probably is a mediocre, I think the kids say mid at best, football mind. Say you.
It's like, you see your friend and he's dating this girl, and you're like, listen, don't do this,
Where you're
man.
going
It's
with
going to be
this.
wrong. You stay away. Like, there's too many red flags here. Don't do it. And he goes, you know what? I know her. She's gonna change. It's gonna be fine. And then 3 years later, 2, 3 years in divorce. I don't know what happened. She this, all the stuff that you talk. This is what we're watching right now. Everybody, when you have everybody in the league saying, "Don't do this," no, this is wrong. Another is saying Anchorman 2. Wow, this is crack. Wow, they're doing. And everybody's holding signs saying, "Don't do it, don't do it, don't do it." Gary just had to go for it. I know what I'm doing. Just the fact that Brian Schottenheimer, like, if you're trying to retrace. Jerry's just trying to keep retracing what he knows, and he just wants to be insulate himself with that instead of actually going outside the box and looking for a guy who fits him. While all of a sudden he's still giving orders to say what he wants to do and his vision for a team. He's beyond past that time to have decision making. It's this point where if I'm if Steven believes the same way, if Steven Jones, his son and the VP believes the same way, that Cowboys thing is going to be bad for a long, 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 long time. If Steven thinks differently, now's the time to go. Listen, Dad, is great. This is your thing. You run it. It's time to step aside because you have guys like Brian Schottenheimer, aka Dave Campo, aka what the heck is he doing? This guy. It makes no sense with this hire whatsoever. You let go a lot of your good coordinators. John Fossil is highly. I know special teams. Everything else special teams, but John Fossil
Fossils
is
are highly regarded
highly
coach.
regarded. He made that kickoff rule. The league brought him in to help him with the kickoff rule. And you just like, nah, we don't need no thing. You got coordinators going left and right. Eberflus is your defensive coordinator pick now to have with Brian Schottenheimer. That team is just sitting there asking to finish 8, 8, and 9 at best next year. It's just asking for it, and it makes no sense. You think if you have Brian Schottenheimer come back and you have Eberflus as your defensive coordinator, you think that's enough for Michael Parsons to go? Yeah, I want to return to be a Cowboy. No, you better franchise tag him because he's going to say he's going to get more money. Look elsewhere. He's like, I'm going to New England potentially. Go somewhere else.
You use that analogy of divorce, and I'm gonna use that and say this. That's actually the advice people were giving Brian Schottenheimer. Like that train is going. They're going both directions here. I look. I don't know enough about Schottenheimer to say it was a bad hire. What I can say is this: Jerry, at this stage of his career, his football career, is a step behind as far as identifying coaching talent. He's a step behind, and he recognizes that. So he's going with names that he can identify. What does Mike McCarthy have? A name. He won a Super Bowl in Green Bay. I'm serious. That's what this is about. Schottenheimer's father, Marty Schottenheimer, won an NFL lifer. When he was successful in Kansas City, he was successful in San Diego. While he may not have won a Super Bowl, his teams were always double digit winning teams. Stop me if this sounds familiar. Always, in the playoff hunt, if not one of the top seeds in the playoffs. And they underachieved in the playoffs. I mean, that's the guy he just fired. Same sandwich, different plate. So that's what's going on with Jerry. Steven doesn't have the cachet to come in and say, Dad, this is the wrong direction, because quite frankly, Steven got his job because of his last name. So he's not going to bring in that proverbial or that previous mentioned A. He's going to keep bringing in those C's because that's what he knows. Jerry right now is behind the eight ball. If it wasn't for Jimmy Johnson, Jerry Jones would probably be regarded as Jim Dolan or James Dolan. So, and we'll see how it works out. As an Eagles fan, hell, I'm happy. Couldn't be more ecstatic. As a Commanders fan, you should be ecstatic. As a Giants fan, you should be ecstatic because you just watched the Dallas Cowboys pretty much sign up for an 8-9. Like, that's what we're gonna do. That's what we're gonna be. Now, let's get to some football. Did we miss any coaching hires? Aaron Glenn for the Jets. What did I say? Same sandwich, different plate. You just fired one defensive coordinator, hired another one. Oh, that's right. This one played. Oh, that's right. This one was a draft pick. Oh, blah, 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 blah. The Commanders look pretty damn good in their playoff game. And Homeboy had 2 weeks to prepare. And it was a rookie quarterback. And I get 77 people were on IR and you were missing. But if you can't confuse a rookie quarterback schematically with 2 weeks to prepare, I'm not really spending too much time talking about what type of head coach you're going to be. I'm happy a black man got a job, but why we always got to take the Jets, man? Why we why we always got to get the Jets? Like, dude, say no. Go back one more year. It's the same conversation we had with Kellen Moore. And the exciting thing about the Eagles, well, I want to start with the Kansas City. No, we'll just start with the Eagles. The exciting thing about the Eagles are they're going to have both their coordinators back, and they're probably going to win the Super Bowl this year. That's unheard of. Fangio will be back. Moore will be back. Their division will be a mess. 3 of the 4 teams will have the same quarterbacks. Or 3 of the 4 teams will have it because Jalen to be there. But two of the opposing teams will have the same quarterback. So not much will change in the division. I'm excited about the Eagles going forward. Now, let's stay in the NFC title game. There's a lot of things that you're going to throw at me, but I just want to start off and end with this. Jalen Hurts doesn't lose these games. I will break down the Redskins, Commanders, whatever we want to call them, the Nationals, whatever they're called, the National Football Team in a second. But I want to start our discussion with that phrase. Jalen Hurts, high school, like Embiid, who got hurt in high school, had back injury in high school. Like other guys who we anoint because they play on super teams. Jalen Hurts won in high school, so he didn't lose those games in high school. Jalen Hurts didn't lose those games in college at 2 universities. In fact, the coach pulled him because he wasn't getting what he wanted out of him. He just went to another school and played for another title. He didn't lose it in his first shot, whether you want to say, the defense played lights out, which they did, but they made the plays necessary, game-winning plays. Jalen Hurts always does that in these moments. And the fact that he's hurt, that he's playing injured, to me, he's part of that Kobe Bryant, Michael Jordan. Yes, I'm putting him in that stratosphere as far as mental capacity, the ability to stay focused, not to ignore the things around him, but never even acknowledge them because he's focused on the goal in hand. Jalen Hurts doesn't lose these games. Floor is yours.
I think there is something a little different. You got something there to it because you talked to some of the guys this week, and he even was asked this during his press conference yesterday on Friday. What about? I've heard you're a little bit more fired up than you normally are during this week, and it just seems like he's just going up the trajectory each round. He just goes up. He's more and more passionate, and I don't know what to say. I know somebody called him Jalen Hurts because he was like a happy mood after that game against the Rams, what have you. But he just seems like to thrive. Like whenever he's like he really enjoys just playing in meaningful games. Like if you look at Jalen Hurts from like week 2, week 3, it's just like, all right, we're here. I'm going to do my job, but when does the playoffs get here? It just seems like he has that thing. Like we're focused on 1 week at a time, but he's he loves being in those spots. And I look at the way that he plays. His numbers aren't where they normally are. I think a lot of quarterbacks numbers are, which is weird. That's a whole other subject. But I look at this point and he just wants to try to find whatever way he wins. It means he throws for 65 yards, so be it.
That's not gonna
As
happen.
long as it comes with a W. So I think that's why you look at that. He deserves a winner to me. But for me to put him into like Kobe, it's Kobe and MJ like. But for me to put him in that mentality wise, put up there, I think he
You
just
got
needs
to
to
win a
win one
championship.
championship. Yeah, he's just one.
Yeah, well, when I mentioned those guys because I mentioned there's a certain type of drive, because I can't say like he's in that Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Moses Malone, because those guys are older. But what people need to understand about guys that are driven the way a Jalen Hurts is driven, the type of success that a Jalen Hurts has, despite having um, despite having a plethora of what have just been obstacles that would be barriers for most, is you have to have a certain type of focus. And I said it once, I'll say it again. It's not a focus where you can hear everything, but you don't pay it, you don't stop. It's a focus where you don't even see it or hear it. It doesn't even exist to you. It's it's speaking 5 minutes without blinking. And you think that's crazy, but watch a video of guys who are intensely driven. Watch how many times they blink when they're talking about something that a goal that they set for themselves. It's crazy. Now, going back to Hurts, specifically for the game. This is starting to bug the stew out of me. Yes, Jalen Hurts was hurt and the offense still scored 30 points. No, that's not why they lost to the Commanders. They lost their starting free safety in the middle of that game. Game winning touchdown. Where was it, Chris? Right down the middle. Talk to me, man. Explain to me how, and I'm not in Philly right now, so maybe this is something that's all. I was just getting ignored and just like, oh, well, it doesn't matter. And they didn't lose him through practice, like it wasn't going to play. He was thrown out first quarter. Was the first quarter he was thrown out or second quarter?
I think it was the second quarter. It was
So it
second
was
quarter. I
first
think
half.
it
It
was the first
was
quarter. Yeah,
first half.
yeah, first half. Yep, he's doing that, and it's funny because the referee in the divisional round game him, they didn't really talk to each other. CJ stayed away from him. Sean Smith,
Yeah.
CJ stayed away from him. What have you? Because I know he was fired up about that. So yeah, he held his own. But part of it went hand in hand. I think from it, I look at the offense and their inability to start going on drives after he left and basically going 3 and out, 3 and outs, or maybe getting a first down and then going into punt. I think that war taxed that defense a lot more.
Yep.
It didn't, trust me, it didn't hurt. It didn't help him when Tristan McCollum was out there instead of CJ Gardner Johnson because CJ Gardner Johnson probably undercuts a couple of those throws. But since you didn't have him out there that much, so yeah, I definitely agree with you in that aspect. Like you lost him. And I also think you lost some of your passion too. He's a fiery guy. He's the guy who's like, you know what? He's the one that will go with you, talk to you, go up to you, go, I don't like you, and then walk away. Yeah, I've seen that. He like for y'all better start doing stuff right, report it or changing up. I've seen him do that before. So to have that somebody with that attitude, yeah, that's a big loss for them, and that was a big loss for them. So when you have the fact that you have him back, he's experienced, and you see the experience he has. Like he wants his game. He was the one. I forgot about this one too. After the first one they had that Thursday night game. He turned. I was down on the in the tunnel. He's talking about for the East runs through us. The East runs through us. He was the one
Yes.
saying that stuff, and it started that rivalry in a way because down people watch this song. It's like, oh, here we go. So you have him back the full entire gambit in an NFC championship game, which he's played in 3 straight ones now because he was with the Detroit Lions last year. So he knows what it takes to win. I think that definitely is key. But the offense contributed to that, but to having him back is just turns things so much. It helps out the Eagles a lot.
I want to read you something too before we change gears. And this is another person that the world is a ticking time bomb. And this guy is about to explode. His name is AJ Brown. This is AJ Brown's last one. Let's see. This is his last one, two, three, four, five, 6 games against the Commanders. All right. Now follow me, Chris. Take a journey with me. 5 catches for 85 yards. That's in September 2022. Right? 1 touchdown. Then 1 catch, 7 yards. Next game, 9 catches, 175 yards, 2 touchdowns. 8 catches, 130 yards, 2 touchdowns. 5 catches, 65 yards. 8 catches, 97 yards, 1 touchdown. So I'm looking at a dude that puts up some pretty damn good numbers and took a major hit when his quarterback went out. Hasn't really had a breakout game, and then has an uncharacteristic drop. And I will never question an athlete's heart. You turn on the film, did it appear as though it was an opportunity for him to make a catch and he didn't extend himself? Yes. But there may have been a reason why, but I will say this. That also was a drop over the middle. I know you know what I'm talking about when he was surrounded by three Rams, and it looked like he didn't fully put out, he kind of alligator armed it. But I'm not saying he alligator armed it. I'm saying what it looked like on camera. AJ Brown is going to have a big game. He's going to have a big first quarter. He's going to have a big second quarter. He's going to come out halftime. It's going to go down. And then in the fourth quarter, he's probably going to have about 2 major catches. Going to walk away with I'm going to say 12 targets, 8 catches, at least a buck 20, and 2 touchdowns. Saquon Barkley's demise against the Commanders in the second half has been greatly exaggerated because the Eagles lost their starting quarterback. So, I mean, interrupt me if I'm wrong, but they lost the starting quarterback so they could then dedicate the entire defense to Saquon Barkley. Once AJ starts vaselining that sucker up, and Saquon busts 2 up the middle, look, it'll look like it's a close game. Score-wise, it'll look like it's a close game. But I'm telling you, Jalen doesn't lose these games. CJ got losing our starting safety in the first half is one of the I can't believe no one's talking about this. You got a wide receiver who had a rough game, but who's a volatile dude and volatile in a good way. Volatile in a good way. Who is due for a big game, who has had big games against this team, and you've got a running back that's on pace to he how close is he to having the record for rushing yards in the playoffs? I think he's I know he was in the top 5 before the Rams.
I'm not sure offhand. I can look
Yeah,
see if I
but
can find that in
he's
there.
close to setting another record. And I'm going to repeat the phrase, even though you laughed. I'm going to repeat it. Once AJ starts vaselining that defense up, we're looking for Saquon to penetrate all through there. I don't understand what the belief is that the Commanders are going to come in because they won a game late in the season when the Eagles won a 10-game winning streak. Quarterback got hurt. I know we got to get to the Kansas City Chiefs. So I'm picking the Eagles. I'm looking at the Eagles to win this game. I don't see any reason why they don't win this game. What say you?
So, all right. I think the AJ Brown thing, I asked Kellen Moore what he thought about in that last game with Marshawn Lattimore. They attacked him a lot. Do you think that was that one? And he tried to downplay and say, "Oh no, it's a one-off. There's a lot of factors." No, I think they do it a lot because not only did he get a lot of those receiving yards against them, he drew 3 pass interference penalties that put them in the red zone. They just didn't convert those. They set off for field goals instead of going for touchdowns, getting touchdowns. So I look at that, and then I think okay, this might be the overcorrection because they might try to even if they shift that defense over to AJ Brown's side, Devontae Smith had good games. If you games gives him, if you subtract the catch he dropped and before the Commanders won that final drive, he's put up numbers against them in the last few times he's gone against plays that defense. So either way, I think the
Yes.
way when you look at the offense, the passing game, the much maligned passing game, they can't do it. This is a game where you do that. Now the ones I'm worried about, the thing that could stop that would be if Cam Jurgens' back is really, really messed up, truly messed up to the point where it starts to affect them. Then you have to shift Landon Dickerson to center, bring in Tyler Steen, and oh yeah, you got potentially Jonathan Allen and all these other guys coming in there. That's Frankie Louvu and some of those guys coming in, and Dante Fowler come off the edge. Those are guys I'm worried about up front in terms of that. But I think they can hold. And I think, and you look on the other side, as long as they get pressure with four, and Vic doesn't have to feel the need to blitz because Jaden Daniels is doing extremely well throwing against the blitz. He's one of the. He's actually, I think he's the best. He's faced the most blitz, highest one of the highest blitz rates, highest snappers playoffs, and he's capitalized on it. If they get front pressure with those four without even having to do that, this game should be at least I think they win. I think it's a little closer. Personally, I think it's like 23-20. Something where
Oh
it's like
no,
the
no,
Eagles,
no.
somewhere the Eagles up 23-13 in the fourth. The Commanders get a touchdown with like 3 minutes to go, and everybody's like, "Uh-oh!" But then the Eagles reel off one of those 4 minute drives, and they salt away a game. So I think it's gonna be close. It's still a division team; they know each other very well. But I think the Eagles still come away, and they better. I hope they say they're not going to grease the polls in Philly. They better need it because they can't
I
keep having all this stuff.
I subscribe to the division games, tough to predict, close game. But this game, I didn't think the Rams game was that close. The Eagles dropped touchdowns. You mentioned Devontae Smith getting hurt, and then I felt like when they needed to make plays, they made plays. So 23-20, maybe the Commanders get two late touchdowns to make it look, and the Eagles put a 26-20. But I'm expecting the Eagles to have a double-digit lead throughout this game. I really am. Quickly, we got it because I'm not going to hold you for a second show. We got about 7 minutes left. The Bills are going to win this game to me, and it's nothing scheme wise. It feels like it's going to be a Pacheco fumble, an uncharacteristic Mahomes play, or God forbid, I'm not speaking this into existence, but I would be remiss if I didn't mention it. No, 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 not a flag. A Leonard Marshall, Joe Montana / Vaughn Miller, um, Patrick Mahomes body breaking career altering hit that
Yeah,
there's a reason why there aren't three peats in the NFL. And it ain't because there ain't been good teams out there. The last one were the 49ers against the Giants. And it wasn't like the 49ers didn't play well. The Giants were the more physical team, and there was two plays that kind of Roger Craig fumble, which Lawrence Taylor recovered, but it was the Leonard Marshall hit on Joe Montana that knocked him out of the world. And he was never all the King's horses and all the King's men couldn't put him back together again. And for those of you that are too young to remember, Montana was that dude, I guess is a better way to put it. He was that dude before that play. Similar to what Mahomes is. And I just don't see it. And then I mentioned the division and I kind of alluded to this, so I'll get it out and then I'll give you the final 5 minutes. I want to throw this out there though. That division is together now. You've got good coaches and all the stops. Even though I don't like Sean Payton, he's a solid NFL coach. The Chiefs are going to lose this game. And it's not because of anything the Bills are going to do schematic wise. It's just their time. The time is hit. And it's going to be something ridiculous where the football gods or the things just don't break right for them. And this is how I see it. A Pacheco fumble, Mahomes throw to Kelsey that gets tipped up and intercepted late, or God forbid, hopefully it doesn't happen, but a hit that just changes Mahomes completely. The floor is yours.
see, there's two reasons why I think, well, three reasons why I think. One, there's the revenge factor. I think Kansas City wins this game. There's the revenge
Mm,
factor because
mm.
they got beat beforehand and it jolted them. I think it's one of the like, we're Kansas City. And Andy's gonna go, when you look at our record, who's the one that gave us our L?
Yeah.
The Buffalo Bills. So you have that going on. Two, I just think the way they're continuing to build at the right time, that defense is so what we talk so much about the Kansas City offense, the Kansas City defense really is legit. The way that Steve Spagnuolo has blitzing, that's a name I thought he would get a second chance of a head coaching job. I thought he maybe,
You may not
I
want
think
one.
his Rams, yeah, at that point, yeah, because he got a good spot. I look at him and I'm like, okay, the way that they're blitzing at the right time, George Karlaftis of all people is starting to really play. I know he's a first round pick or having, but he's really playing well into there. So I look at that. The other thing is, and this is more of the whole background, what have you thing. Apparently, Mahomes' grandfather's in hospice now, and it's the last 40 minutes. So you know when you have that moment of I want to play this for somebody, and we've
Man.
seen how athletes go up on that. And it's one of the things where I want my to make sure and you Pat Mahomes, he doesn't need any extra motivation, but to know that hey, you know what, this might be my grandfather's final days. I'm going to do what I can and do it. If he can, if he's there, he's with us. I'm going to wait too. So that's why I'm like, you know what? Yeah, I think that was the final thing because I kept going back and forth. I'm like, no, I can see the Bills winning this one. No, I can see the Chiefs winning one. It's another close game. I think it's going to be one of the better conference championship
Yeah, I
weekends
agree.
we've seen in a very long time. Very, very long time.
I
But
agree.
Chiefs win, I think, 28-24. Yeah.
Yeah, I hope you're right, Chris, because I don't want to see I want my Birds to take out Kansas City. I
I think
want
they
my
will.
Eagles to beat Kansas City, but it's just been around sports too long, man. And that's why Michael Jordan and you mentioned earlier, Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant's, Phil Jackson's are so rare, Bill Russell's, because once you get to that third, fourth, fifth, I mean, as great as LeBron is, he's never done it. As great as Tom Brady was, he never did it. It just, I don't see it, bro. As great as John Elway was, like it's it's his time, and it's just the way the world. It's just the way the sports world breaks. So you're going with Kansas City. I'm gonna repeat. I'm going with the Bills, not because I think the Bills are the better team, or I just believe this is the time that it happens. This is the time the fumble happens. This is the time the left tackle misses that block or can't hold it a second longer. And the Bills are just right place, right time, I guess. So we'll see how it turns out. It should be interesting. And I do also agree. I do agree with you that it'll be a great game. So you got the Bills. I mean, I got the Bills. You got the Chiefs. I got the Eagles. You got the Eagles. We will reconvene next week. Same bat time, same bat channel. That's it for this episode of Unparalleled Sports Talk. If you enjoyed the podcast, make sure you like, share, comment, subscribe, whatever your podcast platform allows you to do. He's Chris Franklin of NJ.com. I'm Kwame Fisher Jones. Until next week, we appreciate your time here. You be easy.